also a lie.
Oh my goodness! Hold on. I'm unclear as to what's happening, Ben. I don't understand why you do this, because I'm asking one person a question, they're talking. You interrupt them repeatedly so they cannot finish their point. No one is doing that to you.
You're not fact-checking when your lies being put out on CNN right now.
Excuse me, Ben.
Ben Ferguson came on CNN with one job: blame the Democrats for the TSA shutdown. He had his talking point. He had his number 7 times. He was going to say it until it stuck. Then the host pulled up the actual clip. Senator Kennedy, Republican, on Fox News, saying on camera that Donald Trump personally rejected the deal. His own party's senator, his own words. Played back in real time while Ben Ferguson sat there trying to find somewhere to look. You know this feeling. You have watched it so many times, it has become its own kind of exhaustion. The guest who does not come to have a conversation, who comes to perform a script, who repeats the same number 7 times, 7 times, 7 times, like saying it enough times makes the senator who contradicted it disappear. And the thing that makes it worse is that it usually works. The host moves on. The lie gets treated as one perspective among several. And the audience goes home with the vague impression that both sides are equally responsible for something one side clearly caused. Not this time. This host stopped her own show on live television to make sure the record was straight. And what happened next is the kind of journalism that makes you remember what journalism is supposed to be for. I am Silas Miller. This is Miller's Mandate. If you are tired of watching the lie get equal airtime with the truth, this one is going to feel like relief. Hit subscribe, and let's get into it.
I think they can do 2 things at the same time. They're not the ones that are screening the bags, as we know, and TSA agents will be doing that, the ones that are showing up, and God bless them for showing up as they're being held hostage, and their pay is being held hostage by the Democratic Party for what we're now into multiple weeks. The times have gone down significantly. In Houston, for example, right now, it's under 40 minutes at Terminal A. It was upwards of almost 5 hours yesterday. Those times have come down. Minneapolis is at 5 minutes at one of their checkpoints late this evening. That was at 4.5 hours the same time last night. So not only are these times going down, you're seeing that the president is understanding the American people paid their taxes, and they deserve to be able to go to an airport and not have to be there for 5 hours standing in a line when trying to travel, do business, or go on spring break. And all of this is avoidable. The Democratic Party decided they wanted to hold the American people hostage at the airports. This is their decision to do it. I think it's a disgrace. And as an American taxpayer, I'm furious, and so are a lot of others. I don't understand why you would do this to the American people, but I'm glad that the president is continuing to look at different opportunities to put the American people back as priority number 1 instead of saying we don't care about you, and that's what the Democrats have done.
Well, for starters, this isn't the Democrats holding up the funding. This is Donald Trump holding up the funding because he's demanding that they pass the SAVE Act. He's demanding that they fund additional money for ICE. It's not. Senator Kennedy on Fox News said it tonight. Donald Trump is the reason that we don't have a deal right now on TSA to fund these agents. Now, Ben brought up the progress that's been made.
7 times.
Hey, Ben, I didn't interrupt you.
I voted on this.
Ben, hold on. Wait, hold on. Okay, both of you, hold on a second. Ben, I've asked him a question. I'd like him to answer the same way I asked you one, and you had the opportunity to answer. But both of you can pause for a second, because I do want to reference the clip that you just mentioned, Mike, because Senator Kennedy, we actually have it here.
And that way we're out of the shutdown and DHS is back open. We submitted that, Senator Thune submitted that to President Trump, as is his right. He said no deals with the Democrats. So we're back to square one.
Mike, now that we've heard what you referenced, continue your point.
Yeah, that's the whole ball game right there. Donald Trump won't allow there to be a deal. So all this faux outrage from folks like Ben, this is a Republican shutdown. They're the reason that this is happening. And I want to make one more point, too, because Ben wanted to hail how the ICE agents are making things more efficient at airports. He brought up that Minneapolis is experiencing 5 minutes right now. There are no ICE agents at Minneapolis right now. So Republicans should get connected to the real world and stop taking credit for things that have nothing to do with it.
That's not true.
And that's not one of the 13 airports where there are ICE agents, Ben, and you know better than that.
Go on X
You know
right
what,
now.
Ben?
You
If
will
you could
see
stand
them.
on your
can't
argument,
just
you wouldn't
make
be
up
interrupting
lies
me.
and say it's true.
It's ridiculous.
Ben,
Now, listen, you're the one who's coming up here and
go ahead.
spreading things that aren't true.
Well, let me ask. Yes, I happen to have been in Minneapolis this morning. I was also in Baltimore today. I experienced very little wait time in either direction, but I've also been in both places when there has been a huge ICE presence, and especially in Minneapolis on the ground during the protest just several months ago, after the what incidents had happened on the streets there. But Ben, you know, Trump is demanding Republicans tie DHS funding to his voter bill, the Save America Act. Even Senate Majority Leader John Thune called that, quote, unrealistic. I want you to address what Mike's point was, along with Senator Kennedy's point, about the idea of going back to the starting blocks yet again. If the president is saying no deals with Democrats, how does that help negotiations progress to get the American public where they want to be?
Yeah, when you're being held hostage by the Democratic Party and you've had 7 votes to fund the Department of Homeland Security and stop this insanity at the airports 7 times, that is a fact. Anyone can go check it. 7 times Democrats have said no.
Ben, are you going to answer the question that Laura asked?
Did you hear my
not
question about the president, though? I hear. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Wait, whoa. Hold on a second. I would like to have a conversation with you, but I need you to answer the question that I asked about the president's involvement in terms of him saying, it's not my words, it's the Senator Kennedy talking about it. If the president is saying that there can be no negotiations with Democrats, then what are the 7 votes? What impact would those have? It sounds like he has a major vote there.
You had 7 times Democrats said no. So the president said, all right, let's change the strategy.
Violently take ICE agents in San Francisco because she didn't have enough documentation to prove her citizenship. This is the kind of silly stunts that Republicans do because they can't govern.
7 times you guys voted 7 times in a row, including over the weekend.
I don't know if you know this, Ben, but Republicans are in control of the House and the Senate and the White House. You guys can govern at any time. It's not on us that you guys can't govern.
The Democrats say
the United
no.
States is preventing the deal.
7 times. 7 times. This is new after the 7. I'm trying to explain this in like a childproof way for you. You had 7 times that you voted on this no. The president then said, okay, let's try a different approach. That is what a normal leader would do. Not do it 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times, or you guys say no.
Jesus. My God.
Well,
7 times the Republicans who tried to tie ICE funding to TSA pay, okay? If you take that away,
we have not done that.
TSA, which
that is also a lie.
Oh my goodness! Hold on. I don't understand. I'm unclear as to what's happening, Ben. I don't understand why you do this, because I'm asking one person a question, they're talking. You interrupt them repeatedly so they cannot finish their point. No one is doing that to you.
You're not fact-checking when your lies being put out on CNN right now.
Excuse me, Ben. Hold on a second. You have the wrong anchor. I'm telling you right now, I do fact-check in real time, which is why I asked you the follow-up question about what the impact of President Trump's statement was on the ability to negotiate. You went backwards to the 7 times as if you were the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off talking about his penalties 9 times. I'm asking you about the President of the United States, who you know where the buck stops. I don't know why you didn't answer that question, but to devolve into an insult to me or my guest is not the solution. No, now you're answering it, but now the segment's done.
I said that earlier. You can go back and watch the tape.
I will. And I also said, as I'll say again right now, I'd like to have a conversation with you both. I hope the next time you both appear, I'm able to have that. Ben, Mike, thank you.
Let me tell you what you actually watched in that segment, because the clip is being shared as a satisfying moment of a MAGA guest getting shut down. And yes, that happened. And yes, it was satisfying. But if that is all you take from it, you are going to miss the thing that matters most. What you watched was a live demonstration of what happens when someone in a position of media power decides, in real time, on camera, with everything at stake, that the truth is more important than the comfort of the guest. That decision is rarer than it should be. And the fact that it felt shocking, the fact that watching a host fact-check a guest in real time felt like a remarkable event rather than a basic professional standard, tells you everything you need to know about how far the bar has fallen. You felt that before I said it. That is why you clicked on this video. Now let us talk about what actually happened. Because the substance of this argument matters, and it got somewhat buried under the drama of the moment. The 7 times lie, and why it is a lie specifically. Ben Ferguson repeated the phrase 7 times throughout this segment, like it was a magic incantation. 7 times Democrats voted no. 7 times. 7 times. The implication being that Democrats are solely responsible for the TSA funding crisis, that they had 7 opportunities to fix it and chose not to. That the suffering at airports, the workers going without pay, the lines, the chaos, is the direct result of Democratic obstruction. Here is what the 7 times actually refers to. 7 times Republicans brought a funding bill that tied TSA pay to additional ICE funding and the Save America Act, a voter identification bill that Democrats and multiple Republican senators have described as a voter suppression measure. 7 times Democrats declined to vote for a package that combined essential worker pay with a partisan political priority that had nothing to do with keeping airports running. That is not obstruction. That is refusing to be blackmailed. There is a meaningful difference between those two things, and Ben Ferguson spent the entire segment hoping you would not notice it. And here is the part that should make every working American's blood boil. Senator Kennedy, a Republican, went on Fox News and said explicitly that Donald Trump personally rejected a clean deal on TSA funding. Not the Democrats. Trump, his own senator, on his own preferred network, saying the quiet part out loud in plain English. The host had the clip. She played it, while Ben Ferguson was sitting right there. Ben Ferguson's response was to go back to 7 times. That is not a debating strategy. That is a man who knows his argument has collapsed and has decided that volume and repetition are the only tools he has left. And the host, to her enormous credit, refused to let volume and repetition substitute for an actual answer. The Minneapolis moment, because this one is almost too perfect. Ben Ferguson pointed to Minneapolis as evidence that things were improving at airports. 5-minute wait times. See, the situation is getting better. Things are working. The president's approach is having results. Mike immediately pointed out that there are no ICE agents at Minneapolis. It is not one of the 13 airports where ICE agents were deployed. Ben Ferguson took credit for a 5-minute wait time at an airport where his argument had nothing to do with the 5-minute wait time. This is what the political right does when it runs a government. It identifies improvements that happen for reasons unconnected to its policies and claims them. It identifies failures that happen for reasons directly connected to its policies and blames them on the opposition. And it does this so consistently and so confidently that the audience can lose track of which claims are documented and which ones are invented. The host did not lose track. She had the facts. She deployed them calmly. She did not raise her voice. She did not perform outrage. She just asked the question that the documented record demanded be asked. And when Ben Ferguson could not answer it, she named that too. Out loud, on camera, without apology. Now, let us talk about what this shutdown actually is, because the framing matters enormously. TSA workers, real people with real families, with real rent due, went without pay for weeks. Not because of a budget crisis, not because there was no money available, because the President of the United States decided that their paychecks were an acceptable hostage to hold in exchange for passing a voter identification bill. He looked at working people doing a public safety job, showing up every single day to keep air travel functional, and said, "Your paycheck is my leverage. Your economic security is my negotiating chip. Your family's ability to pay its bills this month is the price I am willing to extract from the American public to get what I want politically. And then his supporters went on television and called it the Democrats' fault. I need you to feel the specific shape of that. Because it is not just dishonest. It is a particular kind of dishonest that has a cost beyond the specific lie. When you take the suffering that your own policy decision caused and blame it on the people who refused to accept the conditions you attached to ending that suffering, you are doing something to the fabric of public trust that does not repair easily. You are training people to distrust their own perception, to second-guess what they clearly saw happen, to wonder if maybe it really is more complicated than it looks, even when it is not complicated at all. Even when a Republican senator already told you exactly what happened in plain English on camera, you are not imagining it. It is not complicated. One person rejected the deal. His name is Donald Trump. Senator Kennedy said so. The host played the clip. Ben Ferguson could not answer the question. That is the whole story. Everything else was noise. Let me talk about the host for a second, because she deserves it. She said something in this segment that I think is one of the most important things a journalist can say on live television. She said, "You have the wrong anchor." I fact-check in real time. That sentence should not be remarkable. It should be the minimum standard for anyone given a platform to shape how millions of people understand the world. But it is remarkable because we have spent so long in a media environment that treats balance as the highest virtue, that treats giving equal time to a documented lie and a documented fact as responsible journalism, that watching someone simply say, "I am going to check whether what you just said is true," feels almost radical. It is not radical. It is the job. It is what the job was always supposed to be, before access journalism and both sides framing, and the fear of being called biased turned it into something that serves the powerful more than it serves the people watching at home. The people watching at home are TSA workers who went without a paycheck. They are the travelers who stood in 5-hour lines. They are the workers whose economic security gets used as a bargaining chip every time a political fight needs leverage. They deserve a media that does not treat their suffering as a debate topic with two equally valid sides. They deserve someone who pulls up the clip, who asks the follow-up question, who refuses to let 7 times stand as an answer when the actual answer is sitting right there on video waiting to be played. You deserve that every single day, not just in the moments that go viral. That is what this channel is here to do, not to perform outrage, not to score points, to hold the line on what is actually true and refuse to move from it no matter how many times the same talking point gets repeated. If this one gave you something real, share it with someone who is still confused about who caused this shutdown. Subscribe to Miller's Mandate if you want this kind of breakdown every time. And drop in the comments the specific moment in this clip that finally made it click for you. I am Silas Miller. You are not watching this alone. The mandate does not stop here.